You just heard in the second reading that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. So apparently I am not building here a chapel. This is going to be a cathedral here, okay? I'm still working on it, but chapel, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a big cathedral here. Yes, but basilica, it's smaller. Cathedral is even bigger than that. So we'll see how it goes, you know. Anyway, let's talk about something more serious than that kind of a temple of the Holy Spirit. Because today I'm beginning a new series, which is only going to lead us towards the beginning of the Lenten season, as you already heard me speak. And the series is called What's Worth Getting Up? And I don't mean it as much physically, because that's another story, although we might need sometimes an oomph to get up from our beds in the morning. I mean it more in a spiritual sense, because I think that's maybe a foundation for us even getting up physically. You know, if you are motivated spiritually, then you're going to be getting up also physically. But this is only a part of a long-term process, long series, I would say, here at Bonaventure and Benedict de Moor, of working, all of us, working on ourselves, becoming not only disciples, but also growing disciples. The Catholic Church seems to be forgetting certain things. Our Protestant brothers and sisters are kind of a little bit much better when it comes to these things. We are focused so much on loving God and our neighbor that we've forgotten about the Great Commission. Go and preach the good news, right? That's the Great Commission that was given to the disciples of Jesus Christ. And the Second Vatican Council said it repeatedly in 1965, but apparently the message of the Second Vatican Council didn't make it to many churches yet. So we are to really focus on it. Why? Not only because it is the right thing to do, it is the gospel thing to do, but this is how you secure a church that is healthy. Because you have two choices. You have either a choice of a church that focuses on self-maintenance, or a church that focuses on missionary. And I'm going to give it to you in the most simple terms that you can imagine, at least I can imagine. It's not about finances, but if we are to become financially sound in our parish, we need to double the number of people in our churches. Now, how do we do? You think they're just simply going to come here? We're going to go and get them, so to speak. That's the missionary part, right? And that, of course, depends on being a missionary. It's not just, hey, why don't you come? No, we have to show them that it's worth coming. That's how you become the mission. This is how you become a disciple. So today it's going to be the first of many different installments of these things. It's not going to be preaching also only. There's going to be so many other things that we're going to be doing here. Soon you'll see that. But what I'm going to be talking about today is a kind of a foundational thing in order to get what's really going on. You probably could have even had some experiences of that nature in your life, and maybe you've been even wondering what's going on. So maybe it's going to bring hopefully some clarity to your mind and to your soul. And I'm going to be based on the first reading from the first book of Samuel, and then also I'm going to jump for a second to the gospel, because I think that seems to be the common thing. So in the first reading from first book of Samuel, you heard the story of young Samuel who was sleeping, and he's called 3 times in the middle of the night. And he's confused because he hears very clearly that somebody's calling him, and he thinks that who is calling him is Eli, one of the people in that place. So he goes there, but he doesn't go there only once. Doesn't go there only twice, he goes there 3 times, so he's totally confused what's going on, and so is Eli for that matter, at least in the first 2 times. So, and there is the first hint, what has to happen in ourselves in order for ourselves to become any disciples, or the more growing disciples. We gotta move. And I don't mean it in physical sense, but you have to do something. You have to move. You cannot be just simply, again, I don't mean it in a physical sense, sitting in your couch, but you have to move. You have to do something about it. And I mean, you can look anywhere you want in the Bible, specifically in the New Testament. You won't find many examples of disciples that are not doing anything. Actually, every time you see something happening, there is a movement, right? So what would happen if Joseph, for example, he heard in a dream that he has to take Mary and Jesus to Egypt, and he's coming, the next day in the morning while sipping coffee, at breakfast, and say, Mary, I had a crazy dream. We should go, to Egypt. And she says, are you crazy? We don't have money to buy all-inclusive in Egypt. And he says, well, why do you think we have to go? All right? So, and I'm making it in some kind of a less serious categories, but he didn't simply think of that. What a crazy dream it was. He took it seriously, and he took it seriously having in mind that this is not just going to be moving from place A to place B, that he's going to still be having the same job. He's going to a foreign country. He doesn't know whether he's going to be able to support his family. He doesn't know anything about this. And it's not just fleeing for the sake of fleeing. There's so many questions. You have to leave everything behind. So there is a big decision that to be made. And of course, there is a lot of vulnerability associated with it. Right? There will be. It must be. Because that's what it means to become a disciple of Jesus Christ. Or what if MLK, whose birthday we're going to be celebrating tomorrow, right? If he said, I had a very good dream last night, but basically that's all I need to know, right? Somebody mentioned to me, maybe we should go from Selma to Montgomery, but, something tells me maybe it's going to be a bad experience. Maybe somebody's going to even try to beat us up. I don't know. No, let's stay home. Let's stick to the dream. That should be enough for us, right? Where would we be? I mean, he probably could have been still alive, for that matter, but we wouldn't be where we are today, right? And there are so many more that decided to go after the calling, right? And they understood, and he understood better than many people, that you cannot become a disciple if you do not carry your own cross. So it's not just, getting up and doing something which might be easy, but really getting up and doing something that is difficult. The Pope says, getting off your couches. Or when he spoke to the young people at the World Youth Day, he told them really something cool. He told them, go back to your parishes and make some hot mess over there. Right? Because he wants them to be involved. He wants them to do something, right? The worst thing is to have great ideas and sit down and do nothing, right? Then you're repeating the history of great possibilities that only ended up with great possibilities, right? And then you regret looking back. Oh, I could have been the President of the United States. Yeah, what did you do about it? Well, but I could have been. Well, of course you could have been. Of course you could have been, right? So the first thing, in order for ourselves to become disciples and growing disciples, is to actually act on it. But acting on it, as we go back to the first book of Samuel, is not again as easy as it sounds, or maybe it is as difficult as it sounds, because when we look at Samuel going to Eli, so he goes there for the first time, saying, hey, I heard you calling me, I'm here. No, it's not me, go back to sleep. Okay. But then the second time comes, right? You can almost imagine or see Samuel going back like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but definitely he's calling me now, right? So he's going to Eli, hey, I'm here. You really called me. No, I didn't call you. So you're beginning to think you're losing your mind. But it gets repeated. It doesn't go away. You cannot simply dismiss it. It actually creeps up into you. You don't know what to make out of this. right? And then finally the third time he gets up, and you can almost see him being angry at this point, because twice it was a false call. Now he comes the third time, and he finally learns that something is actually going on. And there is another hint I'm going to give you. Because you may be, or I may be, or we may be going to people that we think they know what to do with this thing, right? Give me some advice, and they may not know. Because Eli had no idea in the beginning. So it could be equally confusing to you as it is confusing to people that should know, but God never calls people the same way twice. And he always calls everyone to a completely different task. I don't know what yours is. I partly know what mine is, but not fully, because it's still probably developing, right? So you don't know. Your calling is going to be completely different from everybody else. And you have to be persistent on it, even if it sounds crazy. And that brings me to another point. You will have this moment, again, as a disciple of Jesus Christ, growing disciple of Jesus Christ, that you're going to feel that something wrong is happening to you or within you. Especially if you look at this through the lens of the culture that we live in. Right? Because nowadays, for those of you who are reading newspapers, you know quite well that the biggest group of people growing in the United States are atheists and agnostics right now. I mean, how many in schools, in workplaces, people don't talk about God. They actually, if they said that you still go to church, you're still a believer, are you crazy? It's maybe a good story. Yeah, well, yeah, it's good to celebrate Christmas, but there's nothing to do with faith, you know. So they laugh at us because they think that we are outdated, you know. But there was something written 2,000 years ago, and we still adhere to it. For what good, right? For what good, you might be thinking. So there will be some friction. There will be some opposition, and you might be thinking, am I still sane? Why am I doing this? For what reason? But again, this is a task of becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ. It's not a disciple of an idea. It is a disciple of a particular person. Because the worst thing is to become a disciple of an idea. You have to become a disciple of a person, of a right leader. Now, how do you discern that, who is right and who is wrong? Well, just look at what it brings you to. If as a result of you doing that, you see more goodness coming to you, that you are a better person, that means that you are following the right leader. If it brings you to destruction, to anger, to violence, as we have seen some leaders bringing people to violence, right? That is definitely not something that is coming from God. Because God has no purpose of bringing violence. God has all the purpose of bringing peace and love and forgiveness, not violence. So look at those leaders who are bringing you to peace, that are creating more goodness out of you, not violence, not division, right? So that's how you do that. And then there is another part to it, which is kind of a final part with it, which is the situation that you're beginning to feel that, am I losing my mind? Who am I? And then you're beginning to discover you're becoming somebody completely new. Let's go back to the gospel for a second, right? At the end of today's gospel, you heard Jesus speaking to Simon. Well, you are no longer Simon. Now you are Cephas. Or actually it should be said Kephas, because it comes from the Greek word kepha, means rock. So he changes his name, he changes his purpose, he changes his life, right? Just like he changed Abram to Abraham, he changed Saul to Paul, and we do the same thing, right? With even within our Catholic or Christian tradition, we have the sacrament of confirmation, and people are choosing their names, right? And the choice of a name doesn't mean that, you know, it fits me well, but it is a choice of a new path, new life, right? We were joking at the previous Mass, that I don't even remember my confirmation name. This is how wonderful that was an experience. So if yours was so bad, don't worry, you can still become a priest. Still there's a path to it, believe it or not. So if I was to choose a name for myself, I would have chosen Horatio, because Horatio makes me look taller a little bit, right? So, but I'm told I don't look like Horatio, so probably wouldn't be. So, but we are not choosing our names because it makes us, taller, skinnier, smarter, or whatever. Actually, I remember because religious people like nuns, monks, they actually either choose their own name, religious name, or they are being given that name. And I was actually once at the vows, the first vows, at one of the religious orders of nuns, and they were giving those names, right? So I don't know if they had some number of proposals, and then out of the proposal the name was given, but it was almost like Oscars. So the woman comes, in front of the altar, I don't know, let's say, you are Susie, from now on you will be called Sister Mary of Perpetual Responsibility, right? Or whatever, right? And all the other nuns, oh, Sister Mary, oh, Sister Mary. And they were so excited, because there's a new name, right? And now, well, I had my own name as a Franciscan brother. And then you have to learn how to react to that name, because from this point on, people will be calling by their name. So they were calling me by the name, and I wasn't paying attention to it, like, hey, oh yeah, that's me, right? So you have to learn your new life. This is your new identity. Going back to where I started this journey, this is how we become new people. St. Paul would say we have to shred off or leave off the old self in order to become new selves, right? With new mentality, with new set of mind, with new values. That's how you become fulfilled in life. Isn't that something that today's gospel does not really speak of things of the past? When you think of the beginning of the gospel, right? When they see Jesus and they follow him, right? And so Jesus kind of turns around and says, what are you looking for, right? And they say, where do you live, right? And they say, well, let me show you where I live, right? And they stay there for the rest of the day. But I think that the question that he asked them is not just like, I see somebody's following me, and what are you looking for, right? But he asked a much deeper question. What are you looking for in your life? What you're really hungry for? Have you found a reason for yourself to be? And they did have jobs, they were doing something, but apparently they were not fulfilled. And that's why they were looking for something deeper, something that would satisfy them completely. That's why they heard something about him from John, say, okay, we are going, because he might actually have something that is going to fulfill me, right? And there's so many people nowadays that they don't know what they're going to do with their lives, right? They wish they knew. I speak with my students all the time, and many of them are undecided, or they switch majors all the time because they don't know what to do with themselves, I mean, we live in a place and time that gives us so many opportunities, but at the same time, how do you really find something for yourself so that, as somebody said, so that you wouldn't be working for the rest of your life? Because if you love what you are doing, you never feel that it's work, right? Besides the fact that, of course, all young people will be influentials or influencers, right? Everybody wants to be influencer now. I think all the spots for influencer have been already taken, so I'm not trying to be one. But you see, but people don't know what they want. They're hungry. They're asking the same question. I'm looking for something and I don't know what it is. And I don't even know where to find it. And that's why Jesus says, what are you really looking for? Because if you're really looking for something that would fulfill you, just follow me. I'm going to show you. I'm not going to even tell you. You see, that's the point. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show where I live so that you could see. This is kind of an intellectual, a little bit of a game that I'm going to give to you right now. I mean, we really don't know where Jesus lived, right? I mean, when I was a kid, yes, but not later on. But imagine if you were in the shoes of those, who follow Jesus, and he brings you to his own place. What are you really looking for? Like, what's on the walls? Maybe you would look at his desk culture. Maybe you would look at, whether it's a tidy place or it's not. Maybe you would like, well, what he's been cooking here, huh? What's going on? I mean, apartments or houses can tell us so much about the people that live there, right? And you don't have to have any explanation to it. It's like, okay, I like the color of the walls. That tells me something. I like the artwork. I like everything. It all comes together so well because it tells me a story about the people, all right? So I don't know what Jesus' place would look like, but I think that would convince us about something that, yeah, I should stick to him. Because he has something that nobody's ever offered me so far. And he fulfills the need that maybe I didn't even know that I do have in myself. So this is a task for ourselves, my brothers and sisters, to become not only disciples, but growing disciples. It's not an easy one, but it's needed one. So ask yourself whether you're resisting the call of Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, we do have many churches that are filled with customers, right? They're on the receiving end, right? And let me tell you, they do have demands. And I don't mean our church, any church you go to, right? There are certain customers, they have their demands, and don't you dare not to fulfill them. And it doesn't even have to have anything to do with the priest. Anything, right? The music is not right. Everything is wrong, right? So there's tons of customers, but there are not too many of growing disciples. If we fix that, because this is the foundation, this is how we built this church, not on sand, but on the rock. Right? If that foundation works, this place will not be enough to contain everybody here. Right? Because that's how you build it. Some people think, well, we have to have more fundraisers to fill up our... No. I mean, it may help to a certain point, but structurally we have to fix it. If the structure works, everything is going to work. Otherwise, it's just a band-aid. It's a window dressing. Doesn't really fix anything. Yeah, maybe we will be able to survive one fiscal year, but the next one comes. If we fix the foundation, then you're going to see this church really growing. But it's not up to me. It's not up to the Pope. It's not to the bishop. It's up to all of us here. And nobody's excluded. That's why it's the need for all of us not to reject it, but to accept the call of becoming a growing disciples in the vineyard of Jesus Christ. So my brothers and sisters, this afternoon I invite you for a journey of becoming true and growing disciples of Jesus Christ, in order not to also rebuild this church, but also bring more youth, vitality, and health to the overall universal church of Jesus Christ. And may God bless us in this task. Let us now